Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 11 of Samurai Brothers Wrestling. And I am John. I'm here with my brother Matthew. And we're going to talk today about how things, we kind of were short on time, not able to know who won the Greco weight classes last week at the US Open. So we're going to do a quick review of that. We have our final update for the Final X participants for the World Team Trials. The Challenge Tournament's taking place this month. And then we've got those who make it to the Final X. That's going to be taking place next month at Stillwater, Oklahoma and New York City. So, Matthew, welcome. And thank you, as always, for joining today. I hope you've been having a great week and a great Sunday afternoon.
For the most part, yes.
Good. I see that you've also been getting your workouts in the gym. How many times a week are you going so far?
Not enough.
Well, I'll have to tell you, last week.
Not to mention, it's hard actually trying to find a place to wrestle at around here, unless I want to take a long drive up to the Fresno area. But I'm in talks with one of the coaches of West Hills, and who's also involved with Lemoore High School, who's trying to set up some more permanent wrestling around here.
Yeah, I think for my part, I've been trying to kind of get back into getting into shape a bit. And last week, what I was doing was on my lunchtime in the latter half, just kind of going out for some walks. And then I did get into the Santa Ana College wrestling room on Monday and Wednesday. So, making sure not to go too hard or overgas myself, since, it's been a long time since I've been a very competitive. But, with the in the shape I'm in, and then the availability of people to wrestle with, I had to work with there's a heavyweight that's been coming in, so I've been working with him as my just my drilling partner, not my live partner. But
John, I know that you're overweight, but you can't. There's no way you'd be that overweight.
Well, no, he's not going 100%.
Well, because you're short.
Yeah, I know. This guy's like.
I mean, we're both short. We're about the same height.
Yeah, he's probably about a good 6 inches. But hey,
in fact, with the way that you normally stand, I'm actually taller than you. It's only when you stand upright, which you have more of a hunched over normal posture, whereas I have more of an upright normal posture. But the fact of the matter is,
I'm trying to work on it. I'll get there. And I think hopefully, yeah, we'll be doing better. But so anyway, again, we'll have to see how things are going here and there. So let's get into just kind of a quick review of how the U.S. Open Greco winners went, and we already noted that Colton Schultz, who was the runner-up at the NCAA's to Gable Steveson, he did win the heavyweight class at the Greco Open outright. I mean, this was a guy who was I was looking at clips on various social media, and he's just not really to the level of Karelin, but he's just taking guys and he's ragdolling them. Just unbelievable how this guy is. Excuse me. So I think, it'll be interesting to see how he does going forward. He did not participate in the Pan Ams. That was done by another individual, which I'm sure we'll be seeing how things are going. I think, and maybe Matthew, if you have a little bit of more insight, I think what's happening is that probably the Pan Ams are part of the representation from the last World Team Trials. Maybe that's how that's going because, a lot of names that I saw that, had won on the World Team Trials from last year were the people who were participating, at the Pan Ams. Like an example would be Burroughs. Burroughs was competing at, he competed at the Pan Ams this weekend. So what do you think of that?
That might be possible, especially when you consider the fact that the what's it called, the the Final X hasn't taken place, so that's probably what all is happening. Is that these are the participants who are competing, and from the last year, whereas everyone else is trying to participate this year. And as I recall, isn't the Pan Ams a way of qualifying for the Final X?
Probably for I don't think the Pan Ams is, well, actually it might be. I think you're right. I think not necessarily the Pan Ams, but I think it's I'm sorry, not necessarily for the Final X, but it would be for the challenge tournament.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
So if you place, then you get to.
I think in some of the articles that we've reviewed that it's mentioned that is that's one of the ways that one
and
qualify.
I have to wonder about this because if you recall, the Pan Ams in an Olympic year are used to qualify your country for the Olympics. So with that being said, because you and I haven't really explored how countries qualify for the World Championships, and that'll be coming up later at the end.
Well, there's like a bunch of different events that they allow you to try to qualify for the Olympics, because in addition they have those challenge tournaments that.
Right, they have UWW challenge tournaments.
Yeah, that are essentially open tournaments for the people who are wrestling in nations that want to do that, and it's like they do that probably. I'm not even sure how long they do that till, but when in an Olympic year they'll do that till like maybe the beginning of the summer or something like that.
Well, if I recall, so I know that like your regional tournament is a way of qualifying your country for the
which
Olympics.
is I forget, it's Oceania its own.
Yes, region? Oceania, which is Australia and
the islands,
all those kind of like island countries. They're their own region. Asia, obviously, which is all the like Japan, China, Korea, and then also the
Arabic.
Right, all the Arabic countries. Also, you've got Africa, Europe, and then Pan.
Now I forget. What does it depend on where the Soviet, the former Soviet Republic is located? That they, because
there might be,
but because I think some of them are considered in the Asian region.
Right. Some, I think geographically it depends. Some might be in the Asian championships, and then some are going to be in the European championships. I think it just depends geographically.
And then Africa is considered its own region.
Right. Africa is considered its own region.
Which actually, if the North Africans, like the Egyptians, are actually pretty competitive when it comes to.
Oh yeah, of course.
But well, and here's something that actually makes sense. Israel, despite technically being an Asian nation, has always participated in the European.
Mm-hmm.
But that goes back to, the Arabic nations. Even though more of them in recent years have recognized its sovereignty, most of them don't. So they basically refuse to there's been some flexibility in recent years, but for the most part, in order, they participate in the European championships, most events.
And I'd like to point out something else. So, you've got your regional tournaments for qualifying, but then obviously you would have the world championships from the previous year are also used to, if you place, I think if you place top 6 technically, which is 2/3 to 5th place, placings, I think that qualifies your country for the Olympics. And then also I think, and then obviously, like you mentioned, they have like I think it's either 1 or 2 last chance qualifiers to also get it.
I still find it interesting though that a lot of nations who have competed in the World Championships have not competed in the Olympics. You'd think that if it was easy enough to qualify for the World Championships with the extra opportunities, you'd be able to qualify for the Olympics. But that's not always been the case. But also, so what I got mixed up, so there's the Pan Am Championships that annually take place, and then the year before an Olympic year, there's the Pan Am Games. So last week I got those mixed up.
Yeah. Okay. Well, just to kind of do a quick recap of our Greco runners from the U.S. Open. And 55 kilos, you had Max Norrie, who whose name we'd seen quite a few times. Then at 60 kilos, you had Ildar Hafizov. 63 kilos, Jesse, and if I don't pronounce this name, apologies to him, but Jesse Thilke, or I think is how you pronounce it. 67 kilos, Alejandro Sancho. 72, Benjamin Peak. 77, Britton Holmes. 82, Ben Provisor. 87, Alan Vera. 97, Lucas Sheridan. And then your heavyweight winner, Colton Schultz. Again, the heavyweight runner-up at the NCAA D1 Championships. Now, one thing when I had read the USA Wrestling article was that 6 of the 10 winners were from, I think they call it, it's Army Wrestling Club, Army Wrestling Club. So that's a interesting thing. So that was the dominant Greco team.
Well, I think, yeah, as I recall, I think the military has been the more dominant, like Greco, particularly. Yeah, I think the Army is the most dominant of those of the branches. I think the Army is the most dominant of the
in terms of wrestling.
Yeah, in terms of wrestling,
right?
If I recall correctly. But then here they are, not only here they are, and they just dominated.
Yeah, the Greco tournament at the U.S. Open.
Yeah, so.
And not surprisingly, they did win. I guess they did have a team scoring, a team championship scoring wise. So obviously, Army Wrestling Club won that title.
Who won the freestyle and or the men's?
I would have to go back and look at it. I didn't really see it listed, but I'll have to go back and find that out for men and women's freestyle. That would be something that I can try to look up. So that's how that went basically. So be interesting to see. Obviously, these wrestlers are now these wrestlers will be in the semifinals for the upcoming challenge tournament. And the challenge tournament is actually coming up in a few weeks, and it's taking place in Iowa. And depending on whether there's a Final X opponent, there's a person who accepted their slot to the Final X. So in the challenge tournament, if there's a Final X person waiting, then you have to win the challenge tournament to go to Final X. But in the case that there is not someone who either had qualified for Final X or declined, then the top 2 places at the challenge tournament are going to advance to Final X. So it really depends on the weight class. So with that being said, before we go into the final look at so far who's qualified again, because they did do another update on who's all qualified, let's look and see who ended up. Our final update for who accepted or who declined their Final X slots. So
I have to confess that considering I have Mortal Kombat in my day job work music playlist, I'm getting Mortal Kombat vibes here.
Oh, really?
Which, funny enough, there's actually 1 or 2 fighters in the UFC who walks into Mortal Kombat.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, you know, I've noticed they've really tried, you know, in various, what is that? When you have various events going on now, you know, people are going to be, you know, that I think it's good in a way how they really try to modernize, you know, like everyone else, you know.
Yeah, like the NCAAs, they have their own in the finals. They have their walkouts, and the I think they go out to their own music, but they have smoke going off nowadays.
That, and then they've been doing that too at the like you know, this past 3C2A, you know, state championships. They did that too, where the finalists, you know, they let them walk out to their own, you know, theme songs and all that stuff.
Well, like I'll throw an example out there. When I was in they did something similar to that when I went to 5 counties. And that was back in 2005.
Well, so I know that they did not do that when I refed the CIF divisionals. They didn't really do that then, but I can imagine they probably do that at CIF state.
Well, the CIF divisionals, they had a little bit more. They had when they were all walking out. It was more.
Oh yeah, they do like they'll do a parade of champions, you know, before everyone wrestles, which was interesting. Anyway, but yeah, you know, I mean, be interesting, you know, see how, you know, that's interesting how that goes. So anyway, Kayla Miracle, who was the 62 kilo women's freestyle Final X candidate, she has accepted her spot for the Final X berth at the World Team Trials. So she will be wrestling in New York on June 8th.
She's not the pregnant gal, right?
No, that would be Adeline Gray.
Okay, yep.
And so she is going. Then we have probably one of my favorite guys that's been out there, Jayden Cox. He has accepted his Final X berth for Stillwater, wrestling at 92 kilos. And Matthew, if you remember, Jayden Cox, you know, he wrestled for Missouri. And I think one of the things was he just was a guy who kind of seemed to come out of nowhere, you know, and then when given the opportunity, he really rose up. He goes and takes third at, I think, the World Championships. And then I think last year he also took the bronze medal at the Olympics. So, you know, he's a very, you know, well accomplished individual. And I think actually I need to go back and read this. Okay, correction. He took a bronze. Yes, that's right. He took the bronze medal at the Olympics, and there was some kind of controversy where the opponent, his opponent, missed weight at the final X back then, and that person, if I recall, tried to appeal. He missed weight, so he wanted a chance to wrestle Jayden Cox again. And
I'm sorry, you and I never missed weight.
no.
So we go by that philosophy of, if it's like, make weight. Like I wrestled a little bit heavier than I probably could have on multiple occasions, both in high school and in college. But the fact of the matter is, I knew what ratio at which I could healthily make weight, and I wasn't willing to drive myself because both in high school and college, it's like, first of all, in high school, I'm seeing these guys literally put plastic bags on to make weight, and I'm just thinking, it's like, I knew before that, it's like, that's unhealthy. So, and then they were still they didn't put on plastic bags. If anything, they used sauna suits and stuff like that. But the fact of the matter is, I was like, I don't want to do this. This isn't worth it. It's like I'm not going to be this stellar wrestler. It was never worth for me. It was never worth putting your literal health on the line for something like that. And probably because of that, I'm pretty sure that I probably did extend my health. Now, obviously, with my weight, I need to be a little bit more careful. But I think I probably put less strain on my body overall, which put me at a huge advantage over these guys who were, it's like they probably could have gotten kidney damage. They probably could have got heart There's a lot of things, and it's just like, it's not worth it. It is not worth it. But yeah, so we go by the philosophy of, it's like, make the weight. If you're going to commit to a weight class, you do it. And if you miss your opportunity, it's gone.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I'll put an example. There was the UFC pay-per-view yesterday, and the champion missed weight. So one of two things was going to happen. Either he was going to lose the belt by vacating it, or he was going to lose the belt to his opponent. He ended up winning the match, but it's like, he was still stripped of the belt. Like, he goes up and he says, can I keep my belt? And Dana White on screen to say, you missed weight.
Yeah.
So it's like, if you're going to commit to a weight, then make it.
Right. And in the UFC, that is a contractual obligation.
Yeah, he was fine. He was fine for not making weight.
Well, he's fine for not making weight, and then he doesn't get to keep the belt, right? I've seen it so many times, and like, on the California JC scene, there'll be guys missing weight. I'll see at least one guy not make weight, during the season, and I'm not specifically, for Santa Ana. I'm saying just in general, there's going to be guys that are, either they're lazy or they don't want to be there. And it will more than often happen at like either regionals or the state tournament, because the guys at that point, they've been going through 4 months of weight cutting or just wrestling in general, that they mentally break right at the end. They just cannot get over that hurdle. And and what ends up happening is you cost your team, by not being able to do that, by not making that weight, especially at the state tournament. That's points that's gonna cost you.
Yeah, and obviously, like I just said, we decided not to, cut major weight in order to, so that we didn't have to and we probably had less of a advantage in that scenario. But
Yeah,
the fact
yeah.
of the matter was, it's like if you're committing to a certain weight, you need to commit to that certain weight. Like, I'll just throw out an example at MBU. There was a example of a guy who there's an example of a guy who missed weight for several tournaments, and Jackson basically gave him a letter and said, "You're going up a weight, and I'm cutting your scholarship." Because it's like he committed to doing it, and he missed weight several times. So it's just like, you got to commit to it.
Well, so I've heard this from people in D1. If you miss weight, you're done. You're cut from the team. Doesn't matter if what your accomplishments were. It's a cardinal sin in D1 if you miss weight.
I would imagine that's an unwritten rule.
Yeah.
Because I haven't seen that, but yeah, I could see that, because yeah, you're at the top level of the sport.
So we've got so anyway, but yeah, it's like, yeah, you gotta make now. See, I know that some high school coaches, what they're smart on is that they will typically whatever, and I think this goes more for maybe smaller schools and stuff where the coaches just want the kids to wrestle. It's like whatever weight they're at is what they're just gonna put them at. Maybe cut maybe 3-5 pounds or whatever. Maybe get like if you're like, okay, so the weight class is like what was it, 52. So it's like if you're a 54 pounder, then okay, yeah, they'll say okay, yeah, then you're good. But if you're weighing 65 pounds and it's like, even if you somehow in the hydration test can qualify to go down to 52, some coaches won't push the wrestlers to do that. They just won't, because it's not worth doing that, and then the kid misses weight. Now, but I can imagine that probably, for the kids who really want to be really successful, they'll cut the weight as long as they're doing it in a somewhat reasonably healthy way, because now the way that NFHS has the weight cutting programs going is that you have to they use track wrestling for that. So if you input, if your wrestler is like 187 pounds, then they can healthily wrestle at, like, let's say 184 pounds the next week. They can wrestle at 182 pounds the following week, and so forth until, okay, you're going to be able to wrestle like 70s when you get to the league. That's how it works now, and they do it for high school. They do it for college too. You cannot all schools are required to use, well, I don't know about outside of California, but in California, you have to use the track wrestling hydration test calculator in order to determine what weight that your wrestler can safely wrestle at by the end of the season. So if that wrestler, according to the track wrestling calculator, let's say they came in at like 145 pounds, but they want to get down to 25 pounds. If the calculator says you can get down to 127 pounds by league, then that wrestler cannot wrestle 125 pounds. With that being said, Matthew, I think it's important to make sure that you're able to, make the weight.
Yes.
So anyway, so Jayden Cox, he's accepted his final X spot. Now, we did have 2 people who did decline their spots, and not surprisingly, Adeline Gray, 76 kilo women's. She, as mentioned before, she got pregnant, so she's going to be taking that time to, obviously take care of that. And then Gable Stevenson is not going to accept his berth at the 125 kilo men's freestyle because he is now in the WWE. So with that being said, that was the final update for the World Team Trials and the Final X. So Matthew, with that being said, it should be interesting to see how the challenge tournament goes. It'll be interesting to see how, things go with, going forward with, world events. And so looks like we're running a little bit short on time today. So we're going to cover the Pan Am championships next week, and also want to talk about our accomplished wrestler. Definitely want to give a shout out to him for what he has done. So Matthew, again, as always, thank you very much for your insight. And you and I, we go through a lot in terms of past experiences, people we've known, and all that. So again, thank you as always. And so Matthew, where can our viewers find us?
We are currently on YouTube and Rumble for our video podcast, and then for our audio, we are on Acast, Apple, Spotify, and Google. More platforms to come.
And Matthew can also be found on Twitter at Matthew Salzer, and then he also writes for MMAFreak.com. So that's MMA-freak.com, and you can also follow MMA Freak on Twitter, which is at MMA Freakout. And so we will have more. I do want to record some vlogs and stuff, and for Japanese wrestling, and also for other various things we have going on. But again, thank you all for your support, and for those who continue to watch, and for our subscribers, and hoping that you have a great week, and we will talk to you all very soon. Take care.